succession. Your referee, Bryce Rumsberg. Introducing first from Hartford, Connecticut, weighing 140 pounds, Cindy Rodgers. And her opponent from Belmont Hills, Pennsylvania, weighing 135 pounds, Allison.
Sounds, and both Cindy Rodgers and Allison Danger slap opposite turnbuckles to fight over the steel chain. Dog collar matchup as Danger takes Cindy off her feet, slapping turnbuckles as quickly as possible, but that chain puts a stop to it. A wrestler must slap all four corners of the ring in succession without their opponent landing an offensive maneuver in between in order to be declared the winner of this matchup. Pinfalls don't count, submissions don't count. You can be saying I quit and give it up all you want. The match will not come to conclusion until your opponent hits all four corners in succession. And much like we saw at the end of their Volume 12 street fight, is like a tug of war with the steel chain, but this time it's attached to their necks, as both Cindy Rodgers and Allison Danger struggling to slap those top turnbuckles. And it's Cindy Rodgers on top of Allison Danger now, and using that chain as a weapon, which is basically the idea of this matchup. The street fight, not a match that Cindy Rodgers is known for in terms of her style of wrestling. She calls herself the definition of technician. She likes scientific wrestling. But Allison Danger wanted to get her hands on Cindy Rodgers after Cindy scored that tainted victory on Volume 10 with her feet on the ropes for extra leverage. She got the street fight, and it was Allison Danger pulling out the victory with the STO after that tug of war with the steel chain. But Cindy Rodgers couldn't leave well enough alone, wasn't happy that she suffered the loss in that matchup, and attacked Allison Danger after the match with the chain. And as a result, we now have the chain involved in this matchup and wrapped around the feet of Allison Danger, as Cindy tried to keep her incapacitated there as she would touch all four corners. But Danger pulling up on that chain and taking Cindy Rodgers down to the canvas, and now has that chain wrapped around her fist as she goes to work on the back of Cindy Rodgers. And now the chain right around the throat of Cindy Rodgers as well. Trying to cut off her oxygen here. It's all legal in this one. One of the most brutal styles of professional wrestling matches, most brutal stipulations, is the dog collar match. Both of these women putting their well-being on the line in a matchup of this sort. Danger down on the canvas is Cindy Rodgers, trying to grab as much of that chain as possible to put it to use. And just going to work on Danger. These two women were tag team partners back on Shimmer Volume 9 against the experienced Lexi Fife and Malaya Hosaka. but it was Cindy Rodgers making the decision during the course of that match to turn on her partner and cost her the victory, setting her up for the experience of the double-team boardbuster. And that ignited the war between these two women athletes. As Danger puts a stop to Cindy touching the next turnbuckle and brings her back down to the mat. Just struggling to see who's going to be able to put the steel chain to use as a weapon in this match. We saw Cindy Rodgers trying to take shortcuts here and there back on Volume 7 and Volume 8 during her matches, pulling some tights here and there, you know, a little bit of an extra kick after she scored a victory against Serena Deeb following her matchup against her on Volume 8. But Danger tried to keep her on the right path, tried to sit her down and tell her, you know, you don't have to take shortcuts, you just have to score victories in order to work your way up the card here in Shimmer competition. But Cindy said, I need to do whatever it takes to get noticed. And get noticed she certainly has done with her actions against Allison Danger during their feud. And once again, it's become a tug of war with the chain here. These fans encouraging Allison Danger on. And Cindy Rodgers shortening up on that chain and kicking away on Danger. Underneath the bottom rope. Where one wrestler goes, the other must follow. If it spills to the floor. And with Allison Danger sent to the floor, Cindy Rodgers has nowhere to go but the floor herself because they are attached to one another. Cindy Rodgers slaps the top turnbuckle. Trying to maintain control of the chain. Danger back to her feet. And comes charging at Cindy Rodgers. And that puts a stop to the count for Cindy. Again, you must touch all four in succession without your opponent landing an offensive maneuver. And Danger stopping Cindy Rodgers in her tracks right there. As both women feeling the effects of the matchup thus far. This chain can really take its physical toll on your body. As Danger now out to the floor, Cindy's still inside the ring, and Danger has got hold of the chain. And it's a tug of war once again. They got the steel ring post in between them, and Danger set into the ring post. Courtesy of Cindy Rodgers pulling on that chain. The momentum just set Danger into the steel. And of course, that dog collar wrapped around the throat of both of these women. You see Cindy Rodgers trying to get enough, pull up on that chain enough to just hang Allison Danger by the dog collar. Danger feeling the effects. And Cindy Rodgers, handful of hair, pulling her back to her feet on the floor. Driving Danger face first into the edge of the ring. Danger barely able to stand at this point. And again, the chain being put to use as a weapon. Cindy wrapping it around the throat of Danger and around the guardrail as well. Rendering Allison Danger defenseless at this point. She had nowhere to go but be on the receiving end from Cindy Rodgers. Bringing the action to the other side of the ringside area. Just pulling Danger by the hair. Cindy Rodgers, a maniacal smile on her face as she has control of this match. Head first into the steel barricade goes Allison Danger. Definition of technician or not, Cindy Rodgers held her own in the street fight on Volume 12 and now has control of this chain match here on Volume 13 as well. And now using the chain once again, wrapping it around the head of Allison Danger. And the steel ring steps as well coming into play. Just looking to use that chain to rake it across the head of Allison Danger while driving her into the steel ring steps. And Cindy Rodgers mouthing off to the fans at ringside here. In full support of Allison Danger here in Chicago, just raking her face across the steel ring steps with the chain wrapped around her head. And it looks like referee Bryce Runsford trying to talk a little bit of sense into Cindy Rodgers. She can't win the match out on the floor. She has to bring the action inside the ring in order to touch all four corners to be declared the winner of this match. But Rodgers seeing fit to do as much damage out on the floor as possible. Pulling Allison Danger by the chain now. Danger trying to crawl away from Cindy Rodgers' onslaught here. And it looks like Allison Danger has been busted open. That chain, as well as the ring steps, took their toll on the flesh of Allison Danger, and her forehead has been busted open at the hands of Cindy Rodgers and this chain. And as soon as Cindy Rodgers saw that laceration on the head of Danger, she's going to work on it. She's got the blood of Allison Danger on her own knuckles, and Cindy Rodgers looks very pleased with herself. Just dishing out more punishment, trying to cause that cut to open up even further and cause more blood to flow. The chain now being used as a weapon, raking it across the forehead, across that cut on the head of Allison Danger to do more damage to that laceration. Cindy Rodgers, again, had that chain in hand, looking to put it to use. And rather than touch all four corners now and try to win this match, Cindy Rodgers is trying to dish out more punishment. She's hanging Allison Danger by this dog collar now. Allison Danger can't get back to a standing position, and she's got the chain and the dog collar around her throat. Cindy Rodgers just looking to shorten the career of Allison Danger here. And touches the turnbuckle now, Cindy Rodgers. Maybe she's dished out enough punishment to her liking. And now she's going to try to actually win the match. She doesn't have quite enough room to touch that turnbuckle here. With Danger out on the floor, she's back inside the ring and goes to work on Cindy Rodgers. She saw that Cindy was touching the turnbuckles and tackled her down to the canvas, and now Danger firing back. And this is they exchange strikes. Cindy now punching away on that cut once again. The blood flowing out of the head of Allison Danger. Cindy Rodgers back in control, but as soon as Danger realized Cindy had started to touch the turnbuckles to try to get the victory, Danger realized that she had to get back to her feet and do whatever she can to just take Cindy down to the canvas, put a stop to her touching the corners. Cindy pulls her up in the corner now. Snapmare out of the corner by Cindy Rodgers. Again with that chain right around the throat of Allison Danger. Just choking her. And look at the smile on Cindy's face. She loves every second of this. Allison Danger just struggling for breath at this point. These fans getting behind Allison Danger here in Chicago, trying to give her the encouragement she needs, but she might be out. She might be out, choked out by the chain here of Cindy Rodgers. Checking the arm of Danger, but it doesn't matter if her arm falls 3 times. You have to touch all 4 corners of the ring. Danger is out, though, and now the match. Well, Cindy Rodgers has the victory right here. She just has to touch all 4 corners, and she will be declared the winner of this match. There's number 3. One more, and Cindy is your winner. But Allison Danger pulls up on that chain before she can touch the 4th. Loss of blood or not, Allison Danger is not going to allow Cindy Rodgers to win this match. She's got that chain wrapped around her fist now, firing away on the back of the head of Cindy Rodgers, and now, yeah, she's got that chain wrapped around Cindy's neck herself. Choking away on Cindy Rodgers now with the chain. But Cindy able to use her leverage to take Danger off of her, but Danger touching the corner. And a second. 2 corners touched in succession by Allison Danger. There's number 3. One more, and Danger's got the win. Oh, not quite close enough. Cindy Rodgers pulling up on that chain, and Danger fell, and referee Bryce Remsburg waves it off. The momentum taken away from Danger. And Cindy Rodgers now has another opportunity to get back on top here. But both women worn down at this point. Luckily for Rodgers, though, she has not lost any blood at this point in the matchup. Back and forth they go, exchanging punches. Big shot from Allison Danger. Rodgers blasts her with one of her own. And that takes Danger down to a knee. Allison Danger just struggling to stay on her feet. Touches the corner. Trying to make her way to a second. That's 2 for Allison Danger. Trying to crawl across the ring to touch number 3. But Cindy Rodgers pulling up on that chain. These fans encouraging Danger to fight back to her feet again. The blood continues to pour out of her forehead, weakening Allison Danger even more so than the use of this chain cutting off her oxygen has thus far. And Cindy Rodgers, even in a hardcore style of matchup, even in a dog collar match, still has to cinch in a submission hold. The definition of technician indeed. Nowhere for Danger to go. That chain just tying her up. As Cindy Rodgers pulling her back up now. Elevating Allison Danger. Decides to place Danger up on the top rope. Do a little bit more damage first. Again, wrapping the chain around her fist before delivering that punch. Rodgers now with Danger up on her back. As she's just going to walk around that ring and touch all 4 corners. She doesn't even have to drag Allison. Whoa. She touched the turnbuckle as well. Cindy touches a second, and so does Danger. I don't think Cindy realizes that Allison Danger is being carried to each corner herself. Both women have touched 3 corners of the ring. Whoever touches the next one will be declared the winner here. Allison Danger, STO! STO from Allison Danger. And touches the corner, but the referee, it looked like the referee called for the bell before Danger touched herself. Cindy Rodgers, as she absorbed that STO, Allison Danger's maneuver, the momentum sent her back into the corner, and Cindy Rodgers' hand touched the top turnbuckle first as she went down with the STO, and Cindy Rodgers is the winner of this dog collar match, even though it was Danger that was scoring the maneuver. Allison Danger can't believe it. Cindy Rodgers with her hand raised in victory. What kind of a beating Lacey can take and still keep